Greetings. It's been a long time, Guardians. In today's episode of In Orbit, I would like to discuss what I would consider to be the good and the bad points of Destiny at the moment, as to what's coming up, what has been, and what it's like at the moment. So without further ado, I think I'm going to go first off into the good things about Destiny at the moment. With the launch of The Taken King, Destiny basically became the game that it was meant to be. It felt a lot more polished, it felt a lot more refined in pretty much nearly every aspect. The story was much better than what we've been given. It was easier to follow and better told, with good cutscenes, good voice acting, and just generally we knew what we were doing. We knew that we had a target to kill. We had Oryx, this big central villain. And as well as that, the story tied into the raid very nicely, like it did in Dark Below, with defeating Crota's soul in the story missions and then going on to the raid to finish him off for good. It was very much the same with King's Fall going on from the main story of The Taken King. So we got a good strong story that had a good bit of narrative ending and had an epic conclusion if you managed to complete the King's Fall raid. Weapons. We had the proper full introduction of the sidearm weapon class, which is considered to be one of the better special weapons for PvP up close. In fact, some people are starting to use it over shotguns now, which is nice to see. We had the introduction of swords, the free exotic swords and free legendary swords, each of the respective elements. And each sword is awesome. Absolutely incredible weapons. My favourite being Ray's Lighter. It is a really cool weapon. So we got a good amount of new weapon variety in terms of weapon types, and a good point for me was it's in the raid weapons, they didn't add any elemental weapons, so that's kind of helped with weapon variety, because it meant that people aren't using the exact same primary weapon. If they're not using exotic, you get a wide array of legendary weapons. So weapon variety for the Taken King has been a lot better, and because things like Thorn and G-Horn weren't brought forward into year 2, yeah, it's given people a lot more weapon variety. Things like the Last Word is still mucking that up a bit, but for the most part, it's been doing a lot better for weapons variety. So that's one thing that it's been doing very well. In terms of events, it's been doing a lot better as well, because we only had like a paltry 1 or 2 events before year 2, but now we've had Festival of the Lost. We've had plenty of Iron Banner events. We've got Trials of Osiris now. We had SRL at Christmas. We had the Sparrow Racing League, which was very good fun, and I'm looking forward to them adding it into the game fully, because Sparrow Racing was incredibly good fun. It's a shame it was only 2 maps that they let us play around with. And next week we have got, starting on Tuesday, on the week of Valentine's Day, we have got Crimson Doubles, which will be running for 1 week, and it looks like it's going to be an interesting thing. And yeah, we've been getting a lot more live events. It's good to see that those microtransactions have at least been paying for giving us stuff every so often, new stuff to do. And yeah, I'm happy with the live events in terms of the fact we're actually getting them. But I'm going to get onto the downside of it later. But for now, it is good that we've got them. Plenty of good things as well. The exotic collections, the ship collection, shader collections, icon collections. We've been given plenty of reasons to go out and hunt things like ships, sparrows, shaders, because of the fact we don't have to worry about storing them anymore. Like, we've got double storage now pretty much across the board, but it's just nice that we don't have to worry about having to make space for our favourite shaders, our favourite icons, because we can just grab them from the collections. Same with exotics. So yeah, the collections have been a great thing. They've helped really with item storage, and on top of that, the fact that like I say, we got double the item storage in the vault was very, very helpful. The gunsmith, great new I say faction, but it's just a character, but you got reputation and stuff with him, and you get cool weapons from the different weapon manufacturers, and the fact that the different weapon manufacturers like Hake, Suros, Omlon, the fact that they each now have their own distinctive style of how the weapons look, handle, feel, and sound, means that it feels like there's a lot more. It feels like how, like in Borderlands, you had like your favourite manufacturer weapons. You get the same like that in Destiny. Like, my favourite manufacturer for assault rifles is Hake. My favourite manufacturer for sniper rifles is Omelon, my favourite manufacturer for scout rifles, has got to be Suros. They have come up with some really good things. The fact that you've got these awesome manufacturers, as well as like non-manufacturer weapons as well, it's managed to help. And again, like I mentioned before, it's really increased the weapon variety. And the fact that you've got a new faction to rank up with and get new weapons and stuff with like random weapons from the manufacturers is really good, and it gives us something to look forward to every Wednesday when Arms Day rolls around. So it has been a really nice introduction. It's really well introduced with the gunsmith. It's cool, and you see channels like Planet Destiny and My Name Is Bife are doing like every week. Like Planet Destiny does videos on the roles, what to get, what might be a good weapon to get next week, what packages should you hold on to, which packages should you use. And My Name Is Bife always tends to generally do it when there's been like a monster god roll. So it's good that you've got that. And the test weapons function as extra bounties as well. They kind of act like bounties, so it's more stuff to go out and do. Yeah, you've also got new faction ships. You've got new faction weapons and armor. Nice refreshing of the armor and weapons. So again, adds more to variety. There's more ways to rank up factions now through giving in weapon parts, giving in modes of light, things like that. So ranking up your factions is a lot easier, and the fact that you can rank up your factions at the same time as your Vanguard and your Crucible is a godsend. Instead of having to go, right, I want to rank up my new monarchy, sod Vanguard reputation, now you don't have to worry about that. Merging Vanguard and Crucible marks into legendary marks has made it so much easier to get gear and stuff. Like, you can only carry 200 of them, where you could carry 200 of each before, but the fact that you get them from your daily missions, your daily Crucible stuff, the fact that legendaries give them out when you break them down, the fact that you've got Trials of Osiris bounties every weekend where you can essentially get 150 marks a weekend if you do it on all 3 characters. You get the Iron Banner bounties, which give legendary marks there. Surprisingly, not easy to get, but they're abundant if you just play the game. And yeah, it's a good system as a legendary mark system. You don't have to worry about, well, why does my faction use Crucible marks and it could use Vanguard marks? Now it's all one currency, simplifying the economy. It's so much easier. And when I say simplifying the economy as well, there's no more Radiant shards, no more Radiant or Ascendant shards. It is now all using motes of light, weapon parts and legendary marks. Those are the weapon parts, armor parts, legendary marks and motes of light. Those are the things that you use to upgrade your gear through the infusion system, which works very well, and it's a very good way of making sure that you're, so long as you get the item that's above what you've got, you're making good progress with the gear that you want to keep. If you've got a certain piece of gear that you want to keep, you can keep it because the infusion system allows you to do that. So long as it's a legendary or an exotic, it can be infused with things like blues, meaning that blues actually have a purpose now outside of just being dismantle fodder. You might open up an engram and you might have a 300 cape. That's very helpful. So yeah, the infusion system's been really good. It was better than the ascending system. The ascension system, whilst it was good so that we could at least, you know, use all of our favourite year 1 weapons before year 1 ended, it wasn't perfect. I wish they'd kept the Reforged system and just put some limitations on it, put a few more limitations onto the Reforged system, but you know, you can't have everything. So yeah, weapon variety has been helped massively by infusion, because now you see people wearing a hodgepodge of different armor styles and stuff. You don't have people wearing the full raid set, because if you want to, you can infuse the raid set gear onto your current gear if you prefer the look of it. So yeah, it's been allowing for a bit more variety. On top of that, strikes now drop their own unique legendary loot. Well, certain strikes, but there's plenty. I'd say about half the strikes have their own loot attached to them, so you can chase a certain piece of armor or a weapon from these strikes, and it makes your Guardian look more unique if you're willing to put the time in. That's one of the things that people like to do, make their Guardian feel more unique. And yeah, strikes have been improved. Now, how is Destiny at the moment though? Because you see, the Taken King came out last September. It is now just getting about a third of the way into February soon. About a few more days and we're about a third of the way into February. And we've not had any new major content drop since the Taken King. Now, I know in year 1 they were essentially killing themselves to keep to the timescale that they had set and that had been leaked, so that way we wouldn't be disappointed. Like they basically killed themselves to get Dark Below out, they killed themselves to get House of Wolves out, and then they had to make sure they got the Taken King out about 3 months after the House of Wolves. So, you know, I can understand them wanting to kick it back a bit, but we haven't had any word apart from one mention in a weekly update a while back. They said that in this month, February, it was either February or March, but I remember it being February, that after the event that'll be running this month, they would be giving us more information on the next content drop. They said it'd be the biggest content drop for Destiny since Taken King has launched, but they have given us not a single iota of information. And whilst Bungie have really improved on the whole communicating with the community, they haven't communicated enough to us what we can expect, because as I mentioned before, it's great that we've got live events, and that it's good that, you know, things like the microtransactions now are helping to at least pay for the funding of these live events, so we can get more of them, and we can have possibly help fund the new content, so that way we can possibly get more for our money if we have to pay for the new content. But they said that live events have become the focus of year 2, and they haven't said whether that would be they haven't said there'd be no DLC drops, but live events, I don't want them to be the meat of what we get in year 2. And I'm sure a lot of you also would agree as well, because I want to have live events as well as DLC. I want live events to be those things that help keep us going with the game in between the big DLC drops. Those things that keep us coming back. It's like, oh, awesome, I've completed all the stuff in this DLC now, but there's like a live event coming in a week or so. I'll keep playing, keep doing stuff, see what happens. Iron Banner's coming along in a few weeks. Hooray, that'll be fun to play. I've got trials at weekends. I've got next week there's a Valentine's Day event starting. A few weeks after that, SRL might come back for all we know. And then boom, after all these events have gone through, it's like, oh, awesome, we can look forward to the next bit of content now as well. It keeps you going. It'd be nice to have both rather than just focusing on one or the other. Bungie's making enough money off of Destiny now, just after the microtransactions alone, that I imagine they could do it. And apparently they really beefed their staff up when just around about the Taken King's launch. So it's just like, you have supposedly, according to Kotaku, delayed the launch of what can essentially be classed as Destiny 2, its next massive content drop, basically the next big massive content drop that would be like either at least on the Taken King scale or on the scale of vanilla Destiny. So if you've delayed it, I'm pretty sure to help try keep your audience invested, you'd want to give them something tangible. I've had a good suggestion from Planet Destiny where they said that they could at least refresh the stock of all the factions and stuff, so that way we had new weapons and things to buy with new perks, or at least just refresh the perks so that we get the same guns but different perks to buy for them. Just things like that to help keep people invested, because we had a good few exotics added into the game at Christmas. That was nice, but again, a few more soon would be nice as well. Maybe bring forth some of the Prison of Elders ones, because they're not necessarily overpowered like, say, the Vex Mythoclast was. You don't need to worry about it being overpowered because they're each quite balanced weapons, so it'd be nice to see the Prison of Elders weapons come forward. One of my favourites, the Lord of Wolves, is kind of stuck in limbo. So, again, just some more information on what we can expect in the future, because at the moment, Destiny, it's not dying, but it has lost players. Not necessarily that they've quit the game, but it's just they don't want to play until something new comes along. They're just going to play other stuff until something new comes along. I've been playing it for a while now, but I did take a bit of a break before Christmas, before SRL, and there's not much, as much as I love going on and getting my daily stuff, the only thing that's really keeping me going at the moment is trying to get the raid completed on hard, because I haven't done that yet. I've completed it on normal, trying to get a good few weapons out of Trials of Osiris, and maybe somehow magically get myself to the lighthouse. And I'm chasing exotics at the moment, the few exotics I don't have in my year 2 collection, and weapons wise, that's just a Jade Rabbit, and it's been proving elusive at the moment. So yeah, that's what's been keeping me playing, but other people aren't going to be like me. It's not like at the end of year 1 where I was still playing it just to try get the Dragon's Breath before the year 1 ended, so I could at least say to myself, I've got all the year 1 exotics. Not everyone's going to have the same kind of drive as me, you know. They're not going to all want to have that same kind of experience, and fair play, that's how they want to play it. And apologies for the mic bump then, but yeah, Bungie does need to at least launch something tangible, even if it's just something like the size of the Dart Below. If it was like the quality of the Taken King but the size of the Dart Below, we'd be happy. It'd be something new. And because of the infusion system, it would mean that the old content from the Taken King would still be relevant. All the old equipment we got would still be relevant, alongside the new shit that we could go out and earn. Just give us new stuff to go out and do, please, Bungie. Because at the moment, Taken King launched with so much compared to the previous expansions we got. They were good, but they were like piecemeal compared to the size of the Taken King. The Taken King has been a big expansion. It's actually the first one that could properly call itself an expansion. The other two were just DLC. This is the first one that's launched that they can actually slap on the box and say, yeah, I did. And what's nice about having expansion level content is we get more PvE activities, we get more player versus environment activities like raids, strikes, new story missions. Because at the moment, we've pretty much gone through all of it now. We've gone through you see, the Destiny community, we go through it quickly, not because there's not much there, but just because we're rabid, we want to play it, we want to experience it all. And then what's left at the end is the only thing that we can do that isn't the same every time is Crucible. And I'm not a massive Crucible player. I know, you see, places like Planet Destiny, and I know Dato's more of a PvE guy. We got places like Planet Destiny, and they all keep going on about how, this is all going to be really good for the Crucible. The Crucible's important to the game. The Crucible this, the Crucible that. They always keep going on about Crucible, or Iron Banner, or, it's so good at Trials of Osiris. I don't get why people don't like Trials of Osiris. And it's just that's the only thing that people can really latch onto at the moment. And if you're more of a PvE guy like me, Crucible is fun, but it doesn't hold your attention for long, because it's still in some ways unbalanced. And I will give it this: there are some good things coming for the Crucible that are going to make it a lot better for people like me. For starters, they're starting to reintroduce connection-based matchmaking with just the slightest hint of skill-based stuff, because they always try to get you people with good connection but with similar skill. That works much better than just skill-based, because trust me, I don't want to be shooting people off on the Pacific coast of America, because they're always going to have a terrible connection to me. Not because they've got bad internet or I've got bad internet, they're like half a fucking world away. Of course they're going to have a bad connection to each other, so having that old connection-based matchmaking system again, shooting people from my own continent, will be nice and fun. They did it with Iron Banner, and for the first day or two it wasn't perfect, but it's only just been reintroduced. But then it worked a lot better towards the weekend, and I was actually getting a lot better matches, and I was winning a lot more in the Iron Banner, whereas before it was always against glitchy people who could have been from Asia or America for all I know. And yeah, it wasn't perfect. But the thing that's really making me look forward to this next update that's coming on the February 9th, the same day as Crimson Doubles, is they are introducing something for the player who doesn't want to go into Crucible and then get curb stomped by a fire team of 6. They are introducing the new freelance playlist, and it's basically just there's freelance 6v6 and freelance 3 vs 3. And basically what they do is it will cycle through the different modes for 6 vs 6 and 3 vs 3. You can't go into it in a group, you can only queue in solo. It's a place you want to go in on their own and have a blast without having to worry about an entire fire team curb stomping them. That's good. Bungie has listened to the community. That's a good thing that's happened, because people complained during Iron Banners, especially during the last Iron Banner, because it was Rift, that if you went into it without a fire team, you would get curb stomped, you'd be slaughtered, because there'd be a fire team on the other side of 6 players who knew exactly what they were doing and were able to communicate. It used to be back in the day that if you went onto Iron Banner, it was a thing that people liked to do in groups, yeah, but you could still go in on solo, because it would try and put you in a group in a match where there was fewer fire teams and just more solo players. It worked out better if you were in a fire team and try and put you against another fire team, or at least a team of people who were maybe in 2 or 3 separate fire teams. So, it was a bit more balanced back then. But then with the Taken King's launch, Iron Banner became, for lack of a better word, painful. It became painful. In fact, I was having more success in Trials of Osiris, completing bounties and getting loot from that, than I was from Iron Banner. Yet Iron Banner used to be, for me, the flagship Crucible mode that showed fair, that was fair even with the level advantages enabled. It was fair. I used to hate Trials of Osiris during year 1. Now I'm getting decent loot from it because of the new bounties they've introduced, which makes it a lot easier to at least get decent PvP gear. I've got a Doctrine of Passing now. It's one of the best assault rifles in the game for Crucible. Heck, just one of the best assault rifles in the game. And it's thanks to the bounties. And Iron Banner's been a bit tricky with that. Last Iron Banner I did manage to get some good loot, but when it first starts, it's painful, very painful. So the fact that this new freelance playlist for Crucible, hopefully they'll introduce it for Iron Banner, because if they did, that would be absolutely marvellous. It would be chuffing marvellous. Now, like I say, at the moment, there's not much to do, and it is kind of not killing the game, but it is just, it's making it harder to want to carry on play. Even for me, who was a Destiny fanatic, I mean, for God's sake, I have my own little mini show called In Orbit on my channel that 5 of you watch. So, I love the game. I've loved it since launch. I was one of the people who at launch kept saying, no, it's a good game. You just had too higher expectations of it. And I still say that now. I get annoyed when people keep saying the whole, Destiny's got no story. And it's like, well, you can't say that now. The Taken King came out and it was actually a damn good story. So you know. But it gets to the point where it's just like, we've done it all. We've done it. And when they did keep trying to give us reason to keep playing the PvE content, it was like hit and miss, because when they launched hard mode of Kingsfall, it was, apparently from what I've heard, it's great. It's tough as hell and tough as nails, but as it should be. It's a hard mode version of it. But when they introduced challenge mode, it was piss easy to get good like 310 and 320 loot out of it. I did challenge mode War Priest yesterday, and yeah, we did it in one go. The challenges aren't too challenging, apart from maybe Golgoroth, but the challenges themselves aren't too challenging. Oryx, we can't do because there's glitches in the raid, and this is the problem. There's glitches that keep appearing in the game, that because Bungie is so focused on trying to keep the PvP aspect happy, the PvP players happy, because, you know, they're the ones who keep coming back to play Crucible, and you get lots of streamers there and stuff, that they keep missing out on us PvE guys. This bug with the ogres essentially teleporting, it's a pathfinding error according to them. They're fixed in the next update, and it's going to be fixing it, but it's been there since launch, and PvE guys like me, we get ignored because with games like Destiny, despite the fact that Destiny was originally meant to be a PvE focused game, the PvP side always seems to keep winning through as the one that gets the most attention. And I get that with weapon balancing and stuff, but when it comes to your focusing your efforts on making them happy with bug fixes and stuff, and then you just kind of leave us PvE guys to the wayside, it gets, well, a bit annoying, because not all of us want the game to focus on Crucible. I mean, for God's sake, recently I keep seeing articles on IGN about how Destiny is going to become the next big great esport, and it's like, no, I don't want that. I don't want Destiny to become an esport, because it is primarily meant to be a PvE game, a cooperative experience, and I don't want it to become focused on this esports thing. I personally, whether you agree with me or not, I think esports are a bit silly, a bit stupid. It's not a sport, like, at all. It might be multiplayer and team based, but it's not a sport. It's video games. It's a hobby. I can't stand sport. Don't turn my hobby into sport. You might think that's me just being like old fashioned and stuff, but it's just like, yeah, I don't want that to happen to Destiny. Destiny's not the right kind of game. I can get it with things like Call of Duty. I could get it with something like, say, Rainbow Six Siege, because that's kind of like a MOBA. I could get it with anything like say best example, Call of Duty, but something like Destiny, where it's meant to have that nice kind of like split between PvE and PvP. I don't want the PvP to start becoming the focus, because then the next Destiny is going to come out and it's going to be like, what, a half-assed raid, half-assed story missions, but the Crucible's great. I don't want that. I love playing through the campaign and stuff in Destiny. I love playing through the raid. I love playing strikes. I don't want it to become Crucible focused, and whilst that's not too much of a problem at the moment, I don't want it to go that way. That's not what I want for the future of Destiny, because I want to see new worlds. I want to get new weapons and new guns and meet new exotic creatures and stuff. I don't want to just blow another Guardian's head off in the Crucible. That's fun for like an hour or two a day, but I spend most of my time patrolling, replaying story missions on Heroic to get engrams, doing Heroic strikes, doing the Nightfall, doing, like I say, doing the raid. It's like every weekend I might go through the trials bounties on one character, but that's usually about it. The only time where I'm focused on PvP is Iron Banner. So that's what I'm saying. It's a bit of a worry at the moment for me about Destiny, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but like I say, it's a worry. It could happen, and I don't want it to detract from the entirety of the Destiny experience. But yeah, it's one of the things that's a bit of a worry. But saying all that, there are some things really wrong with the Crucible, mainly to do with weapon balance. And I'm just going to say it. I hate people who use a sniper rifle exclusively. Not necessarily because they're good with it, but because they shouldn't be able to be that good with it in the situations in which they're killing me. Let me paint the picture for you. You're playing Call of Duty. You're trying to snipe a guy. He starts hitting you. Your crosshair starts going crazy, doesn't it? You can't hit shit. When you pull out the sniper rifle, you're running that risk of you're basically useless once someone actually gets a bead on you and starts hitting you. You're meant to be good at hiding, sniping the guy before he can react. In Destiny, You should not be able to shoot me in the face when I am putting 3 bursts of red death with high caliber rounds into your skull. You know, it's just, I know it's not every other game, you got stability stats and stuff to do with weapons, but there needs to be some serious weapon balancing. Last word, I'm sick of that damn gun again. Everyone's sick of it. They are sick of that gun appearing in the Crucible. After the hand cannon nerf, they should have just kind of like improved Last Word a little bit, but improved other kinds of hand cannons more, because they should have realised that improving the Last Word that much was going to be a bit of a bad idea. And they need to find a way to nerf sniper rifles, and as well as that, Bungie just doesn't know what to do with fusion rifles. Simple, Bungie. It's very, very simple. Put fusion rifles up to the level they were during Vanilla Destiny, when they were overpowered, and then reduce it slightly, and then see what the community thinks. If they think it's still too overpowered, reduce it slightly again until it's a bit more balanced. Because in the last weapon balance update, they nerfed fusion rifles, despite the fact that fusion rifles are practically useless already. You know, they're not listening to the community. The community wants a reason to use fusion rifles, because I remember fusion rifles during the first few months of year one. They were friggin' badass. I was a fusion rifle aficionado in the Crucible. I knew how to time that thing just right to turn a corner and blow a guy away. But now, things like snipers are... Shotguns used to be abused, now not so much. But things like snipers now are becoming the new abused weapon. And Bungie has combated this a bit for Crucible with the special ammo nerf. Even more special ammo nerfs for 3 versus 3 modes where the sniper rifle is at its most obnoxious, especially during trials. Is that now you will start with no special ammo, no heavy, just primary. Which means that people actually start opening firefights and matches up with their primary weapons again before they grab the special ammo bricks, which will mean that people actually have to start relying on their actual close quarters gun skill rather than their long range gun skill, because some people just have got to the point where it's not necessarily sniping skill, they just know the perfect height of a Guardian to blow their head off to aim the scope. That's about it. So yeah, there is still a lot of weapon balancing that needs to do. Some weapons need to be brought way the back up. I think assault rifles still need a slight buff just to make them a bit more effective in PvE, because high rate of fire assault rifles have found their niche in the Crucible, but the slow rate of fire ones are still suffering in PvE, and some of them are really good. I love the Anguish of Dryston. I just got it recently. I like it despite the fact that it's apparently loathed by the rest of the community. So yeah, some more weapon balancing just needs to occur. Scout rifles, they're fine. Hand cannon, normal hand cannons besides the Last Word, they're fine. And Bungie, if you fucking dare bring back Fawn, I will murder someone. I will fly to Seattle and kill the Fawn's creator. I mean it. Well, not really, but still. And yeah, just to wrap up, because it's been a bit of a rant, a bit of a ramble slash rant this video. Yeah, there's some great stuff about Destiny at the moment. The Taken King is excellent, and the people who've come into the Taken King, you're very lucky, because you come into Destiny at a really good time. But I just say this to you, go back and play some of the Year 1 content like the raids. You will not regret it. Get a fire team together and play the old raids. You'll not regret it. You come in at a good time, but you see, unfortunately, you also come in at a bad time. During Year 1, we were looking forward to stuff. It's very uncertain at the moment. Destiny's future is not uncertain. It's probably going to do very well still, but it's uncertain as to what's coming out for it, what we're going to get for it. We don't know what's coming out at the moment, and it's killing some people, die-hard players from Year 1's interest, just because they don't know what's coming and they don't have anything to look forward to. They don't want to keep playing in the vain hope that they're going to get something eventually. So yeah, what's there is great, but the problem is we have gone through it all enough now. We want new stuff. That's been this episode of In Orbit. Thank you for listening to my ramble. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay footage. I'll see you next time, Guardians.